Suppose I'm really passionate the most about helping people become spiritual thinkers because it has done so much for me. It's activated just an organizing principle in my thought life, not so much just, memorizing information. Well, not even that, but really becoming a spiritual thinker who thinks in systems and strategies that are of God, of the invisible realm. It's why I connect to quantum physics and fractals and things like that. But I want to show you a very artsy thing to connect to, I suppose. I have in my collection the Princess and the Pea. I actually ordered this on Amazon a few years back because that story had stuck with me. The fable about the way that they found out who was royalty was by hiding a pea under a huge stack of mattresses, and the person who slept on it revealed that she was actually royalty because when they asked her how she slept, number one, she was honest. That's not always pointed out. But instead of just saying, "Oh, fine," she said, "Well, not very well. Something was wrong with the bed." And whereas all kinds of other people who were not royal would not have felt that pea, the disturbance of the pea, of things not being as they should, the royalty, the sign of royalty, was identifying a very tiny thing has annoyed me. It became a picture in my life somewhat of giftedness, of noticing things that other people don't notice. And instead of feeling strange about it, it was a very special little hug from God to say, "You're not strange, you're royal." But it's bigger than that because there's a spiritual principle here. Spiritual thinkers are scale free. They are not looking at the scales of mankind. They're not looking at natural scales like size. And we all too often measure everything by size. And so if it's not a big POW, a big amount, a big provision, a big goosebump, we think it's too small to do anything because we're comparing, the size of what we feel like we're up against, the scale of what we feel like we're up against, to something that seems small, especially in terms of God speaking to you when his voice sounds like it's described in the Old Testament with Elijah, like a gentle whisper or a still small voice. But I want to tell you, a spiritual thinker has learned not to think in natural scale. A spiritual thinker has learned to be scale free. A spiritual thinker has learned to evaluate truth by a different rubric. And it's a rubric that says, where's this coming from? Could this whisper from another realm? The P. In the case of the story, it was disturbing her comfort. But could that P disrupt the chaos? Could that seed, it's a seed. What's a pea but a seed? It's a seed from God that is the beginning of a new revelation, a new realization, a new vista, a new season, a new opening, a new opportunity. God always gives you a seed and begins with a seed. And many, many times the seeds are sitting there under the mattresses, but we're not tuning into the royalty that we have being spirit beings. We are all royal as spirit beings. And when we tune into that royalty, we will start to notice things, not just as disturbances, but as seeds. And we'll be able to extract that seed and say, here it is, and plant it in the right place. A seed has no business being under mattresses, but in fact, planted in the right place, a seed can grow the kingdom. And many parables and scriptures attest to that. So today, as you think about your life, I just want to invite you to lay aside natural scale. If your results haven't been big enough, if your breakthrough hasn't been big enough, if your comparisons to other people are leaving you falling short, zoom out and say, God, I give you back my scale. I want to be scale free. I want to be a spiritual thinker. And then give the Holy Spirit some time to maybe show you some seeds in your own life. Let him speak some words to you. Let him minister to you a view of your own existence that is spiritually discerned, and it will change your seeing. In the end of the day, so much of walking forward and growing is about perception change. We don't perceive rightly when we judge with the natural eye. But the Holy Spirit wants to retrain our perceptions so that we are no longer bound by scale. We're no longer bound by how much we felt it and it shook us, even though things will shake us. We're looking at what's true, not what is palpable. We're looking at what is eternal, not what is temporary and even in impact. The eternal things will impact you, but they don't have to manifest in goosebumps and feels to be real. So spiritual thinking is your destiny. Spiritual thinking is the way you're going to reach your destiny. And to some degree, you need to be royal. You need to think like a royal. You need to be discerning to the signal that is sometimes quieter than you thought it would be, because spirit is coming from such a different place than the loudness of the flesh. Let me repeat that. Spiritual things are coming from such a different place than the loud intensity of the flesh and the urgency of the flesh. It's not that spirit is hard to find. It's that we have to shift out of that urgent, pushy intensity and breathe into what God's saying in the spirit. We need to be royal in that way. That's a part of what I believe being sons and daughters of the King is about, because this is a spiritual kingdom. It will very much manifest in the natural, but it begins with the tiny. It begins with the scale free, and that's where peace is found. So the journey's just beginning. Get excited about the journey.